Hi everyone, and we reached another hallmark of this Double Cross Anime podcast. We are reaching 150 episodes.
That's right.
Yay! Yeah, so we started back in beginning of 2018, I think.
hmm
I'm sure, and we keep doing that and following the anime seasons and watching a lot of anime stuff, a lot of bad stuff as well. And we're reaching this point where it's 150 episodes and more coming.
Right. Yeah, I guess since we're wrapping up our coverage of the spring 2022 season, that makes 4.5 years we've been doing this, and that would be like 18 anime seasons.
That's right.
I don't think we've I mean, obviously we've shifted our format a little bit, but I don't think we've ever taken a season completely off. There was that
That's
one
right.
weird season where COVID really impacted um, like the production of anime in Japan. I think that was spring of 2020,
2020.
maybe, or even summer, actually.
A
One of
lot of
those.
comic delay.
Yeah, there were tons of delays. Only like 16 or 18 shows came out in this particular season that I'm thinking of. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but we still, I was gonna say we never take a day
Survive.
off, but it's more like we never take 3 months off.
That's right. And in during that time we cover a lot of classic show as well,
Right.
and movies and anime movies
And manga.
and mangas. Well, we we've been covering a lot.
Yeah. And there's
So
more to come after we get through this season. There's going to be
that's right.
summer episode in a couple weeks that'll go up. But first we got to get through these.
Yep. So the summer season, I think that we have like a pretty good season compared to the rest of the years what we have so far. What do you
Yeah,
think?
ever the optimist. No, I think summer looks horrible. It's basically made an abyss, and you
Yep.
pray that something else ends up being halfway watchable.
Yep.
It's
Well,
fall. I think it's fall that's looking good, but that has a lot of like sequels to things that I personally enjoy. So I'm just biased.
that's right. And even on the spring season that we have one sequels and yeah, surprisingly like two anime shows and an OVA,
Right, talking
feature
about
length OVA.
talking about what we're about to do, what we're about to discuss. Kaguya-sama, Summertime
Yep.
Render, Spy Family. I'm not
Yep.
sure whether you pronounce the X or not. I don't know whether this is a Hunter x Hunter situation or a read as written situation. And
I
then the girl from the other side, OVA.
Yep. Always say that it's Spy and Family. Easy
Spy
for me.
and Family. Yeah, I think I remember you saying that.
Yep.
Yeah, we can go with that. That's fine. It is kind of Spy
Right.
and Family because the spy parts are like pretty well divorced from the family parts, except in episode 12, the most recent one,
Yep.
where
Yep.
he has to do the mission while he's taking his family to the aquarium. But I'm getting like way ahead of myself right now.
That's all right. We can actually start with Spy and Family.
Okay, that's handy for me because my notes are all jumbled up for this episode. They're in a million different places, and Spy
Yep.
and Family is the only one where I kind of have everything laid out sequentially. Like, here's what I thought of episode 2, here's what I thought of episode 3, all in one
Yep.
place. So that's great. Let's see
Yep.
if I can talk about it as straightforwardly as that.
All right. So just a general question first. How did you enjoy Spy Family? I know that you watching it's like all at once, right?
Kind of. Yeah, I saw, obviously we talked about episode 1 as part of the our first impressions of the season. That was about 3 months ago. Um,
Hmm.
then I saw like episodes 2 through 5 all at once, and then
Right.
7, and then 6 through 8 all at once or something, and then the last 4 all at once. Yeah, so over the past half week, 3 days or something, I've watched the rest of it.
It,
And
it's
overall thoughts, I really, really, really enjoyed like the first half. and
Right.
then a little bit of kind of weariness started to set in, I guess,
Is that
um, towards the second half.
yep? Is that you refer to your brothers?
Well, not him specifically. The show as a whole. Like, I didn't really enjoy the dodgeball episode, for example. The aquarium episode I thought was just kind of, I didn't feel particularly invested in the success or failure of his mission. I don't the spy stuff in general. The show hasn't prioritized, and as a result, it doesn't come across very strongly. I don't think. And
All
from what
right.
I understand, just like reading comments online, it's the same way in the manga. Like any time it really wants to go heavy on spy stuff, it designates an arc for it, and then after that, it's back to being like a family comedy sort of thing.
All right. Yep. I actually have like the first three four columns of volumes of Spy Family manga here.
Oh, when did
That
you
I
get
have,
those?
and I bought them.
Yeah, when?
um before the anime start.
Okay.
So a while ago, I think I would say like 6 months ago.
So is this one of those things where you buy them and then they just sit on a shelf and you never read them?
I actually read them
Oh, nice.
before in the bookshelf. No, no, I read them in the bookshelf, and then I decided to buy them when I saw them, like selling online for cheap. And I ended up afterward just lending this book to other people for recommendation. I haven't read them myself,
Okay, that's yeah.
so
I was
that
waiting for you to
that
say
all backwards.
that.
That's collection, man.
Uh-huh. So, I mean, what's your opinion of the anime versus the manga, which you've never read?
I enjoy the anime version well enough. I think it it actually it really like crowd pleasing.
Yeah.
So like people just like as I like watching week to week, like every Sunday I just like spend half an hour just to read it right after it came out and enjoy that half an hour. So I would say like in terms of like entertainment, it is entertaining with a lot of parts. I the structure itself, I wanted it to get a bit more serious, but I don't think that will be the case. I think it will be just like that, like it's just a bit of like sitcom,
Mm-hmm.
just a bit. But that's what I feel.
Yeah, a sitcom about a spy and an assassin and their telepath daughter.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, your being an
And
assassin is
assassins.
like, what is the point of that? At least so far, through these 12
Yeah,
episodes, does it even really matter?
yeah, that's right. I actually don't like out of the three main characters. I would say that Yo is my least favorite out of
Are you
the three.
serious? I love her.
Real, really, alright.
Yes.
Because I love Lloyd. I love Anya's like facial expression. Like she's the most expressive, of
Yeah.
4 5 years old girl that in anime that we see. Um, Your notes, I think she just have like a few mentorate, and
Yeah, she does. She's like,
and
she's all prim and proper. Um,
yep,
or she tries to be, but she really isn't. She's actually an assassin, and every once in a while, she thinks about her occupation, and then Anya overhears her thoughts, and she's like, "Oh, that's so scary. I'm gonna make the big face where my eyes are real big and my pupils are real small." And she
yep,
can't handle her alcohol, and uh, you
really
know,
badly.
she's
Yep,
really starved for like familial affection because she grew up without her parents. She and Yuri were
yep.
orphans, and so yeah, I mean those things are like the backbone of not even her character necessarily, but her depiction in the show. We just don't know very much about her, but her design is like. I mean, I think one of the reasons that people are going gaga over the show is the designs, specifically yours and Anya's.
Mhm.
Um, And I don't
Right.
know, maybe Lloyd's too. I don't really think about his design very much. He looks kind of like normal to me.
Yep.
But maybe he's
Yep.
like a big hit with women. I don't know. He probably is. That's the whole point of his character, right? Is that he's tall, he's good looking, he inspires envy from
Mhm.
all the other women who
Yep.
try to throw like a gratin dish onto your. But that's why I enjoy her character so much. Is like uh, whenever she needs to step it up, she can just like
Yep.
kick a platter of gratin and then balance it on her boot. Uh,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
she's just like super duper capable. Even
Yep.
if she's like clumsy and and unsure of herself sometimes and stuff. When that side
I
of her needs to emerge, it does, which I think is awesome.
Mhm. And I actually love the first time that Yor and Lot they meet each other for the first time. I just like all the interactions,
When
like
do they
the
meet for the
way
first
that
time? Is it in the tailor shop, the clothes shop?
the tailor shop, yeah, and then at the end of that episode, I think that is episode 2 that they propose and fake they do the proposal, yes, and while Lot being chased by other guys, and she just went along with it,
Right. Oh, he
and
uses the
without
pin of the grenade that he pulls out as a ring and puts it on her finger
yeah
or something.
yeah yeah that's right, and yeah she just went along with it, and she just doesn't think there was any problems, anything strange about he being pursued by other
Right.
guys.
Well, he passes
I
it
love
off
that.
as like him being a psychiatrist for really troubled
Yep.
patients. Yeah, she is
Yep. Yep.
extremely, gullible. In addition to being clumsy, she just believes whatever she's being fed, and so
Yep.
that does
Yep.
make her come across as kind of hapless.
Yep.
But I'm honestly, I'm predicting that eventually, at a certain point in the story, you know, whenever we overhear people's thoughts, the
Yep.
the manga, I assume, and the anime as a result does the same thing. We hear all three main characters' thoughts on a regular basis, but mostly it's Lloyd and Anya. Anya because that's her power, and Lloyd because he's
Yep.
the main character.
Mhm.
He's the one who's always thinking to himself, "Oh, this is for the mission. Oh, this is for my country, etc., etc." We don't
Yep.
hear yours, you know, internal monologue as much, but I'm thinking that
That much. Mhm.
at a certain point in the story, maybe in the second core of the anime, or which is coming in the fall, or in the future, because I
Mhm.
expect this is going to be a long running series.
Yep.
Um,
Mhm.
we're going to shift. There's going to be like a shift in the story where we get more of yours point of view, and I think she's going to have caught on already to the fact that something is not right
Mhm.
with Lloyd, and
Is
that'll be
it?
kind of like a development or a twist. Like,
Yep.
oh, we haven't been paying a lot of attention to what she thinks about her surroundings all this time, but she's actually
Yep.
not an idiot, and
Yep.
realizes that you know he's not a psychiatrist. Something is up.
Yeah. But yeah, but yeah, just by the event of these 12 episodes that we watch, she have a long way to go.
Right. Yeah. Based on these 12 episodes, she is an idiot. Um, it kind of the scenes where she tries to train Anya. There are multiple episodes that require
Yep. Yep.
training
Yep. Yep.
montages. They kind of remind me of the same sorts of scenes from Kaguya-sama, where
Right.
Chika
Yep.
tries to train
Yep.
the
Yep. Yep.
president to rap
Uh-huh.
or juggle or do
Yep.
whatever, blow up balloon animals, and but they're better. The scenes are just better because they have your being like
Yep.
super physically adept and powerful, and Anya's like,
Yep.
what is what is the deal with this woman?
Yep.
To me,
Yep.
that's
Yep. Yep.
funnier than Chica being like, this guy can't do anything right. So
All right.
I just like your
Yep.
and Anya, and Lloyd's pretty cool. So
Okay.
the fact that like I said that it was the first half of the show that I really, really enjoyed. That was because it was like
Hmm.
setting, introducing all the characters and kind of setting up what their lives were going to be like going forward. For example, the start of episode
Yep.
3, we just talked about how Lloyd proposes to her at the end of number 2. At the start of episode 3, where Anya is giving her the tour of their home as Yora's moving in,
Hmm.
that might be my
Yep.
favorite
Yep.
scene of
Yep.
these whole 12 episodes. Just because at that
Hmm.
point, like, there's still the promise of, oh, this is like brand new. They're all going to move in together. How is this going to work? How is their family going to function? And how is Lloyd? How are Lloyd and Yor going to balance their responsibilities? Like the
Yep.
concept of
Hmm.
it is more purely exciting than the realization of it. I think as the show goes on.
Yep. I think it yeah, after a while it basically like set back to like the status quo, and yeah, it barely like do anything to break that formula either, but
Yeah, so
yeah,
far.
still very enjoyable for me. Yep. How do you think about the whole thing of Anya like attending that school and meeting like all of these friends?
I'm not really a fan.
Right. Hmm.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Um,
I think I can understand those.
Well, I typically enjoy stuff about like kids going to school, and especially if it's a kid centric point of view. But Anya being able to read people's thoughts, and Damien being like
Yep.
such a having such a teenage bully slash brat slash rich boy mentality. It really doesn't feel like they're all first graders,
Mhm.
and I mean, the show itself doesn't really respect the fact that they're first graders either, because we get the dodgeball episode where there's a literal adult in the body of a first grader, or rather, I should say, there's a first grader in the body of an adult playing this
Uh-huh.
dodgeball game with them just for a laugh. Uh, I don't know, the whole idea that she has to earn merits and not demerits, which I guess are Stella instead of like Tronitus
Mhm.
bolts. Um, just makes it feel like too rigid, and her relationship with Damien being he has a crush on her but she hates him. I don't know how much of that I really want to see or can even take.
Yeah, yeah. I would say that for these 12 episodes that we see, we don't actually see a lot of time that Anya spend in the classroom,
Yeah,
like
but I already felt like
actually
it was
studying
too
stuff.
much.
it it more like the her interaction with all these other kids, especially Damien and Becky, which are important for the mission that Lloyd played out. Played out.
Right. I do
So,
like the scenes where he infiltrates
so
the school as like a
yeah.
cafeteria worker or a janitor or something, and tries to send her signals like she has to forgive Damien. I forget which episode that was exactly, but that was pretty amusing to me. Um, then those scenes are like linked directly to the mission that Lloyd is always thinking about and obsessing over. But when it's
Yeah.
just Anya on her own, I much prefer her like budding relationship with her fake mother and father. Because
Yeah.
I have to imagine that the series end game is, um, they become one big happy family. The end, and they get out of the spy game and the
I
assassin game, and they just learn to love one
re-
another.
all right. Yeah, remember that our theory when we talk about in the first episodes that maybe they turn against each other. I think I would expect that.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
would
gonna
love
happen.
to see that.
I think that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Eventually, but then Yor and Lloyd will realize that they've fallen in love and that they choose each other over their respective agencies or governments
Yeah.
or whatever. Uh, or alternatively, one of them persuades the other to join their cause, and then they both team up in order to bring peace between the two countries. Because that's Lloyd's objective, right? Is to bring peace between Westalis and
Yeah.
Ostalis, or whatever the two
Yeah.
countries are called. So maybe he'll, you know, I assume that Yor is working for the the other side, Because if she's
Yeah.
taking assassination jobs in this country where Lloyd has infiltrated, he's on enemy turf. And if this is where
Mhm.
Yor is accepting her jobs, then she's probably killing
Yeah.
people from Lloyd's country.
Yeah.
Um, or I don't know, something along those lines. Obviously, they're working for different sides, and that will become a factor in the future. I want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see that. Like, I don't really want to see Anya um, falling asleep in class again. I'm not interested.
All right, yeah. I would say that for like on the adaptation of like the popular mangas, we have a lot of hopes, like for on this show before watching it. So like I remember like we really have high hope for Bannerfish. Welcome to the Ballrooms, the Promised Neverland, and it turned out to be like really bad. So it actually like I kind of feel relief that like this show so far that it keep like the level of even the production, and like it do the manga justice
So far,
so
yeah.
far. But there's still some red flag for me though. Like I enjoy the characters, but I would say that I like Yuri, but like his affection to Yor is a bit like too much at time for me.
At times, what do you mean at times? It's weird. I think that's the point.
It's really weird.
Yeah, that's the
That's
point.
the point.
But even beyond that being the point, I mean, the story is obviously engaging in like a siscon
Yeah.
sort of thing. But that, I mean, anime just does weird stuff like that, you know. I mean, we were rewatching Aoihana uh,
Yep.
recently,
Yep.
and in the first episode, it's obvious that the brother is like way
Yeah.
too obsessed with his sister. Um, I
Yep.
can't come up with a list of anime that have siscon side characters off the top of my head, but if I had perfect recall, I could probably come up with 50 anime that I've seen where that, there's one episode where a character is like that.
I
It's
think
just it's just
it
weird.
just really yeah it just really weird that we consider that normal now in like in term of anime.
Oh, there's worse stuff than that, man. That we that we overlook.
I know. Yep.
Something's in the
And
water in Japan.
yeah, all right. And then there's while I enjoy like I enjoy on these like family stuff, and I don't really mind the stuff that of Anya going to school and meeting all these kids. Some of the time though, I feel like you remember the episodes where Lloyd um calling like on these all of his agent to fight against him just to like for Anya to watch.
Yes, that's episode
Uh,
5.
right.
Yeah, where they go to the castle and they reenact
That's
scenes
right.
from
Yeah.
her spy anime, Bondoman.
It yeah. It's just fan servicing, man. It just really it it doesn't really like do anything except for like pleasing Anya and pleasing us.
Yeah, I
Like all
mean
these
that's true.
cool action.
That's true. I At that point I was still like really really into the show, so I was like, "Hey, it's a fun comedy episode. That's all right by
Yep.
me." Too many of those without, advancing the story or advancing the character relationships beyond, them all kind of liking each other. And too many of those and I might get tired of them. I mean, I suppose
Yep.
that the dodgeball episode is another one of those, but no, it's not really because it's Anya in isolation for so long, like the whole second half of it,
Mhm.
ish. Another thing that I like kind of have soured on a little bit, I guess, is the fact that a lot of episodes are kind of like there's just a very clear moral, you know. Like there will be
Yeah.
a conversation between Yor and Lloyd about how they need to support their daughter, and maybe studying all the time isn't really what she wants, and they need to think about her feelings. That there'll be like a moment, typically near the end of the episode, but perhaps like in the second act before a character like turns a corner and realizes the error of their ways. It just seems a little it's not really preachy, but it's very simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a character who needs to learn a lesson, and we, the audience, are taken along for the ride, and we are delivered the lesson as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a bit like moralistic. It's
Yeah.
okay. There's a lot of
I
anime writing that kind of reads like that, but
yeah. I don't mind that. Mm, yeah.
yeah, I mean it's pretty normal. But I was really feeling the show for the first like 5 6 episodes, whatever. And I thought it was doing a decent job of avoiding that because it was bringing characters together and planting seeds for their relationships, um,
Mhm.
in order to create those good feelings or those lessons, or in order to point us in a particular direction. It was like, oh, here's this character, and here's what they're about, and how they're feeling, and how their life is changing as a result of moving in with these new people. And then once their life becomes a routine, they
Mhm.
just like learn lessons instead of finding themselves in a new situation, and
Mhm.
that's not as exciting to me.
Yeah.
I like origin
Maybe like in
stories.
the yeah. May yeah. I want more action. Like more thing to throw. No matter of their comfort zones.
Right.
But
Well, I
maybe
mean,
that's for the second part.
yeah. Well, the second part and parts beyond the second part, because this won't just be too core. That it's such a big deal. So many people are obsessing over
Yep.
it. It's a co-production between two of the biggest animation houses in Japan, and I assume that sponsors, advertisers, whatever, are going crazy for it. I'm sure the manga's gotten a big sales boost from the anime. So
Yep.
this'll run for as long as the manga runs, and probably beyond, at least a little bit.
I actually was expecting the end game for this first core to be like the addition of the member of the family, which wasn't the case.
Oh yeah, the dog.
I would be disappointed with the dog. I remember that they showing the dog like at the end of episode 11,
Yeah, and
and then they completely
what was the deal with the fact that the dog seemed to have a memory of the three of them?
yeah,
Am I crazy? Do you
no
remember like
idea.
there's a particular when they're in this makeshift pound where these dogs are being held before they're turned into like kamikaze dogs, like bomb dogs
Yep,
or something? Uh,
yep, yep,
there's
yep.
there's a shot of uh, the dog, the whatever breed it is, I can't remember. And at a certain point, the dog seems to like see a picture of or recall a memory of our three main characters. I didn't understand that.
Yep.
Is he somehow
Well,
like telepathically linked to Anya?
no idea. We have like a new season to find out.
Yeah, it's 3 months away
I
though.
I Yeah, I think that this dog may be similar to the dog in Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, it's like a
Like
super genius
that that
dog?
that dog that dog yeah that dog that has some special things, right? So maybe this dog has some special ability as well.
So
I'm not sure.
Spy and Family is just stealing from everywhere. It stole the concept of, you know, it stole its concept from The Americans and Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and it stole the genius
Yep.
dog from Cowboy Bebop, and it probably stole Anya being a telepathic child from somewhere. That just
Yep.
seems like such a golden premise that somebody else has probably done it before. So
Yep.
it's just a mishmash of stuff that it's gotten from other places. Hey, but that's all right.
It's, yep. I still enjoyed it. The hell out of it.
All right. Well, yeah, I like it
All
too.
right.
I hope that it comes back like with a
Yep.
bang. and not
Yep.
an episode where they
Yep.
go to an aquarium and have a
Oh,
silly
I love that
mission.
episodes.
You like the penguin episode?
So I like the Penguin episode, and I don't mind if like every other episode just like that. It's just as fun adventures.
I see.
That like have the three of them all together with your being like the doing the finishing touch.
Does she do? Oh yeah, she does do the finishing touch. She kicks the guy like into the roof, so he's suspended
Yeah,
from
right.
the roof.
Yeah.
If the camera had panned up, it would have been rated R. There would have been some serious gore.
Yeah, that's right.
I thought the better part of
Yeah.
episode 12 was Anya inducting like her new penguin plushie into her pretend spy organization.
Oh, I love that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the whole episode 12. It's so cool. And then Lot and Yo had to play along.
Right. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that's what I want. I want to see them, I want to see the family dynamics increase, I suppose. So, Anya getting into situations where Lloyd feels more protective of her, or more is forced to support her more, and not just forced to, but finds that he wants to support her more. And the romance, obviously, there's going to be romance between Lloyd and Yor. They're going to start to fall in love. So I'd like to see some of that.
Well, yeah, we didn't talk about their first kiss.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
that's
want
all wrapped up
I
in
don't
the
want to
Yuri
talk about-
stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. So,
Right.
Right.
Oh god, we
Alright.
talked about this for like 30 minutes. Oops.
Yep. So we better get into the other one then. Up to you, man.
Okay. Let's do Kaguya-sama, I guess.
All right, let's
Since
do that.
I already mentioned it as having like a something of a link to Spy Family.
Yeah.
Spy
You know
and
what?
Family.
I have very little expectation to season 5 whatsoever, just because I just feel that like it. I believe that the show is gonna deliver, and I just I spend the time of the all right, I don't know how to frame this, but I just like when I come to watch an episode of Kaguya-sama, especially the season 3, I have like no expectation on what the story gonna be like, because I know that in the next 20 minutes I gonna be still feel pleased, and
Yeah.
it did.
It's just become
I-
the most reliable rom-com in the business.
Yep, that's true. Yep. And even to like to whatever thing that they cook up is like the execution is like pretty excellent.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
and that about covers it. All right, moving on to Summertime Render.
Yep.
There's, I mean, it is consistent, and you can just assume that you'll enjoy yourself whenever you pop on an episode. But at the same time, this season was so focused on one particular arc, with many of the episodes, I don't know, bleeding into one another is not the right term really, but connecting to each other. It's not really just a bunch of standalone episodes or like showdowns between Kaguya and Shirogane, so that it's not, you can't really enjoy each one like in isolation and just be like, oh, I wonder what fun thing is going to happen this week, because they really all do feed into each other, and it's still, in spite of that, it's still kind of fresh each week,
Yeah,
enjoyable.
That's
And
right.
it culminates in a whole big to-do, like a big event.
That's right.
Not a confession exactly, because the show, it can't really do that,
Yeah,
It can have a
they
character make
cannot-
a grand gesture, but they can't say 3 little words.
Yeah, till the end they didn't even say those words.
Yeah, that's because love is
So-
war. The first person who falls in love loses. The show's still clinging on to
Yeah.
that because it's in the title.
And yeah, I think that they spent like the last 3 4 episodes for like the whole act, like on the single days, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it might
And
even be more than just the last 4 episodes that are spent on the what is it? The Culture
preparation.
Festival?
Yep. That's right.
Because there's also
And
all the preparations for it. That plus the festival
yeah.
itself probably takes up half the season.
Mhm, mhm. Yep. And yeah, I'm actually surprised that like in these, not that surprised now that I'm thinking about it, but like in this season they have some new character as well, and one of them is the niece of Kaguya,
Right. What is her name?
Maki.
Is it Maki?
Yeah.
So Nagisa then is her friend, the one who's in the relationship with the guy that Maki likes.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, the we've met Maki before. We met her in season 2, probably, maybe even season 1, because this show does like to have its side characters recur.
Really,
But
because I
she,
don't recall
oh
at
well,
all.
we definitely have seen her previously.
Right.
We may have seen her as early as season 1, because she's the girl who was always like hiding and spying on Nagisa and her crush.
Yep.
Like really early on
Right.
in the show, before
Yep.
Nagisa was in this relationship with this guy, there was a girl who was always spying on them and following them around. That was Maki.
Yep. I remember that now.
Yeah,
Yes.
but she takes on additional significance, or she gains prominence in this series,
Yep.
in this season, I should say, because of her relationship. Like she's part of one of the branch families of the Shinomiya like clan or something, and
Mhm.
that I'm guessing that that's going to have additional significance down the line, because
Yep.
Kaguya's family being so powerful is like a
Mhm.
shadow that kind of looms over the series. I mean, Shirogane even accounts for it
Mhm.
during his monologue,
Yep.
as he's like
Yep.
making this huge gesture and all the balloons are flying through the air, and he's asking Kaguya to apply to Stanford. He's thinking to himself, I can't just come out and say like I love you to a woman like
Mhm.
this, to a girl who like
Mhm.
holds this position. It would
Yep.
she has to do it. She has to choose me. She has to marry, or not marry, but she has to like date down, essentially. It's up to her whether she kind of like takes her place in society and shoves it and is like, I'm going to be with this lowly commoner boy.
Mhm.
Um, and since Kaguya is kind of more story oriented than a lot of rom-coms are, I'm sure that'll,
Mhm.
you know,
Yep.
play into whatever
And
larger blueprint there is here.
it's remarkable because like it presents itself as like segments, and like a bit of sitcom as well, but like through this season especially, we see that like you said, like on the story, they are connected to each others, and like there's an arc,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a callback to like the event of the previous stuff that I really appreciate.
Yeah, there is continuity, and there is a big arc at the end. I think one of my favorite parts, perhaps my favorite part of the student council arc, was not. I mean, I enjoyed the scene where the two of them are on top
Climax.
of the clock tower and the
Yep.
balloons are flying and all that. But I think my favorite part was in the episode before that, episode 12.
Mhm.
Or if you want to think of episode 12 as like a two-parter, the first half of it,
Mhm.
where Kaguya is talking to Hayasaka, um, the blonde girl. Excuse me.
Yep.
And she, like, it's things have become pretty serious tonally by that point, because she's become aware of the fact that Shirogane is going to Stanford, and she's like, it's now or never. I have to tell him my feelings. Hayasaka is like, because there's a little bit of antagonism, like some friendly antagonism between Kaguya and Hayasaka
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
throughout the series. But Hayasaka is so supportive of her in that moment, as Kaguya is like, beginning to cry and expressing doubt as to whether she'll ever, be able to tell Shirogane what she thinks of him, or that they won't ever be able to end up together, and her own insecurities about like her family situation and her sadness about her absent mother are all wrapped up in that, and she
Mm.
starts to become really emotional. Like Hayasaka steps forward really quickly and gives her a hug. um, I thought that was
Yep.
I thought that was a really wonderful moment, um,
Right.
because Hayasaka has been like expressing her autonomy, I guess, more and more, and messing with Kaguya more and more by pretending to
Yep.
be um, somebody that she isn't, and like expressing an interest in Shirogane, like romantically. Uh, we're not still 100% sure whether that's all an act, um,
Yep.
but regardless of how much of it is pretend and how much of it is genuine, she still puts Kaguya above herself. And more than that, I would say she just
Yep.
is a good friend to her in that scene,
Yep.
which
Yep.
I like.
Yep. Yep. I agree with you completely. And this season, like they really give like all the main characters like spotlight. We have like Ishigame successfully proposed. It's not proposed. Sorry. Asking the girls he like out.
Tsubame,
Yep.
Tsubame, yeah, the
Uh,
pink-haired girl.
yeah, by accident actually, but
Right.
like he actually succeeded. And
Well, it's not really a
yeah,
success, right? Because he accidentally gives her a 3-month window before she has to get
yep.
back to him.
Well, I think that still work.
It was an unintentional
And
success.
it is, like she would have like 3 months to consider him, so like he's still in the picture for another 3 months. So
Yeah, but I mean, I think when the show comes back, in whatever form it comes back, I don't know whether it's going to be like a movie or a fourth season
yeah, yeah,
or whatever, but I don't think he's going to be happy with his situation for too long. Being on the
yeah,
hook for 3 months, as she like points out to him, being on the hook for 3 months is nobody's idea of a good time.
yeah. And yeah, I actually like the moment I enjoyed the most out of I think out of the last two episodes is Ishigami come to Illinois and give her like a video of the campfire.
Right. Yeah. There's a bit of something brewing between the two of them, as one would
Hopefully,
have
man.
as one would have suspected.
Yeah,
Them being two of the five main characters. They're pairing off Shirogane and Kaguya, and then obviously Chika is her own beast entirely, so she's not going to be getting with any
yeah,
of the main characters. So that leaves the two younger ones, I guess. What are they, second years or first years, or she's a first
yeah.
year and he's a second year, something like that.
I think they are on the same grade, so I think they are both the first years. I
You think so?
remember like Shirogane and Kaguya, they are actually like second years because they have like another year to go.
Is that right?
So yeah, I think that's the case
Okay.
because I remember like they said like this time next year Shirogane got not gonna be here because he accepting the invitation from Stanford.
Right. Yeah, I mean, when I watch Japanese stuff, I'm always really bad at figuring out where we are in like a school year, or what the
Yep.
characters' ages are based on what their what time of the
Yeah,
year it
well,
is and what
16,
part of
17,
their.
they're the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. It's just the fact that their school system, or their school schedule, I should say, is so different from what I experienced growing up. Um,
Yep.
and at this school, there are like trimesters and stuff because it's a fancy prep school that leads directly into a particular college, unless you're
Yep.
Shirogane
Yep.
and you're just so
Yep.
smart that
Yep.
you get into Stanford by sheer force of brains.
We got a bit of flashback of Shirogane as well before that he become a student he in the student council.
We do. What was that?
That was before. That was when he was, like first year, and he. I think that's in like episode 6 or 7, when not the first time that he saw Kaguya's. They didn't know each other then. That Kaguya saved a girl around running.
Oh yeah, I vaguely remember that. And then he's
All right,
like,
so
he kind
that
of he
been
kind of falls in love
that
with
long
her
time
right
ago.
then and there, and he's like, a girl like that would never notice me. Uh,
Yeah,
Something along those lines.
yeah, that's right, that's right.
Yeah, and Kaguya has like a really cold expression on her face the whole time she does it, like it was just a purely rational and logical decision.
Yeah,
Because of course that's before she meets Shirogane, and her world has changed.
and
Yeah, it's all coming back to me
yeah,
now.
and yeah, and that was the president at the time invited him, and I think that's the main reason Shirogane wanted to become a president of the castle,
It's because he could do it better than that guy.
because he could like ask Kaguya, he could be on the same term with Kaguya.
Right. Yeah, I do remember the show kind of framing it that way, but I don't. Wasn't the president in his memory in that flashback like kind of a jerk who was only inviting him there so that he would be like an extra set of hands uh,
Mm,
for some project that he thought would make
yeah,
himself look good? I think that was like
I
the what we were
all
meant to
right.
read
I
into
I
that scene.
I don't get that feeling, but you could be right.
Okay. Well, in any case, yeah, I kind of
Yeah.
remember that that scene existed now. I mean, I
Uh,
at this point, I've my memory of this season is mostly based on like the last
the
half of
egg.
it,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
culture festival stuff. But I do
Yeah.
remember a few things that happened along the way. Like obviously the rapping
Yeah. The rapping.
was a
I was
part of
fun watching
several
that.
episodes. I wasn't really
Yeah.
that big into that. Uh,
I
I do remember the two girls who were like part of the I don't know what do they call it, like the media club. It's really like the school newspaper.
oh
I
yep yep
really
yep.
enjoyed this segment of episode. I don't know which one it was, like 7 maybe or 8,
Mm-hmm.
where the two of them are talking to Kaguya and Tsubame and maybe Shirogane as well about what their plans are for the culture festival and stuff like that. I really enjoyed looking at all the different characters through their eyes. I thought that was
Yep
a neat chapter.
yep. How do you take
Just
on
wanted to
the
throw that in there.
yeah, no worries. How do you take on the segment like earlier in the series regarding Hayashika, like trying to take advance of Shirogane
Are you talking
just to
about where they're in the
spite.
karaoke booth?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's the
I
one.
actually did not like that
Where
very much at all for a very specific reason.
yep.
And that was, the scene ends with like Shirogane having a horrible singing voice.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and Kaguya's listening outside of their room, like the karaoke room, the whole time, or I guess you call it a karaoke booth, whatever.
Hmm.
Um, so Kaguya is outside the door, and she hears Hayasaka being like, "No, please, it's too big." Obviously, she's
Hmm.
thinking that they're about to have sex.
Yep.
But then
Yep.
the way that ends is what she was actually talking about was his singing voice. Um, but so
I think
Kaguya heard
that's the
the dick
microphone.
joke, but she didn't hear his singing voice, which would have been like way louder. It just that scene makes no sense.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I didn't like.
Well.
It's a plot hole.
Yep. Yep. All right. Yep, I agree with that.
I mean, the idea that Kaguya's what is Hayasaka's relationship to her? What do you call her?
Hamed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know if maid really it covers it exactly. She's like her almost her manservant. but not really that. It's
Yeah,
her woman in
yeah,
waiting, like her attendant. I don't know. Well, I'll just call her maid.
yeah,
Um, that's not really right though. But yeah, Hayasaka's her maid, but she. What was I even talking about? I forget. I was too
yeah,
obsessed with like
yeah.
fixated on what her title is. Now I don't even remember. It was something having to do with like um, she is teasing Kaguya constantly because she is like she claims to have more knowledge of what like what boys want and how to talk to them and how to flirt with them and stuff.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me. That Kaguya is like seen as perfect by so many people, and yet she knows less than her maid in this one
Yeah.
very particular area of interest where she would love to be superior, but she isn't. I like
Yeah.
that, but that particular moment from episode 2, I was like, meh.
Yeah. How about Shirogane Sisters? We got like a just like a one or two segment that have her in these seasons.
Yeah, there's the one where like Shirogane has terrible fashion sense and she has to take him out shopping or something like that. I don't know. I didn't
Yeah.
really feel that her name is Kay. I don't
Yep.
think she did much this season. She
Yep.
was just
I
kind of
agree.
sidelined.
Yep.
Maybe she'll have more to do as Shirogane like prepares to go to Stanford and she like prepares herself to become the representative child of the family who's like still in Japan. Or maybe
Yep.
she'll have more to do
Do
with hooking up, like helping Kaguya and the president to hook up, because he won't be able to take like that crucial last step, or I don't know, like what her role will be in the future. But here, I don't think she did much.
All right. So one last question from me. Do you think it's gonna have another seasons?
Oh yeah,
Oh man.
yeah, and
All
probably
right.
yeah. I mean, there's speculation about whether the new. Obviously, they announced more Kaguya-sama immediately after season 3 ended. Some people think it's going to be a movie because of the size of the next arc from the manga. I have no idea about any of that. But whether or not it is a movie, there's going to be a 4th season.
Right.
Because
Be-
the manga is still ongoing. Like the story, it's really story arc based.
Jesus
And
Christ.
yeah, it's still going
Because
on.
I think that it run its course already. Oh, now that I'm looking at the my anime list is actually like sitting number one in my anime list.
Whatever the big new thing is always going to be at the top.
Jesus Christ.
Whether it's
It's
Kaguya-sama,
big.
like Demon Slayer, or Spy and Family,
Yeah.
whatever's new.
9.16 score.
Great. That's wonderful.
Impressive. I just think that the story itself has run its course, but I really don't mind, like seeing more of them.
What do you mean the
And I
story
think
has run its course? Like,
they already proposed to each other. They haven't
not
said the
really
words, but
though.
they kissed.
Yes, that does happen.
So-
But I mean, so what? I mean,
right? Yeah.
in anime, there's a lot of romance anime where the characters kissing is like the goal, and then once you get there, it's
In the
over.
end.
Yeah, but it doesn't. I mean, that makes no sense. First of all,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be that way. And I guess in this case, it isn't.
All
Because
right.
there's a question of whether she's going to get into Stanford, so they can actually like the question of whether or not they're going to stay together or whether they're going to be separated now looms over the two of them and the story as a whole.
Yeah.
If you end it here, their future is uncertain. So just because there's been like a little public display, uh, doesn't mean we've got
what
nowhere else to go.
what you mean public display? Like no one is safe except for one girl
Right.
actually watching the kissed.
Well, I guess what I meant was like the whole balloon thing.
Right.
I'm not when I say public display, I'm not talking about actual like PDA. I'm talking about a grand gesture, let's say, from him to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like there's nowhere else to
Yep.
go.
I enjoy this arc. So I I think that this season actually their best. Yes, like in term of like the execution, they
I
just
see.
make everything so snappy. So I say that they almost deliver everything.
Yeah, well, there's in spite of that, there's more to come.
Right.
I don't know when
Yep.
we'll get it, but you know,
Yep.
it'll
All
come.
right. You want to get
Summertime
to
render.
the show?
So is it
Let's go with
summer?
that
Is it
summertime rider.
summertime rendering? Is it summertime render? Is it summertime rendering?
Oh,
Or is it
all right.
summertime render? Who knows? Much
Or,
like with Spy and
yep.
Family, we don't really know how to say it or what the title even is. Uh, I will say
Yep.
this is the show that I was like most optimistic about, based on the first episode. Well, maybe Spy Family would actually grab that title,
Right.
but
How do you feel now?
as this show went on, I kind of started to lose interest. Like at first a little bit, and then a lot.
That's a shame. All right. Tell me, which part that make you feel like losing interest?
Well, obviously episode 12, the most recent one, is like where the show kind of lays, well, it hasn't laid all its cards on the table because there's still a question of what Heine is exactly, and all that,
Yep.
like the underlying questions of what the shadows really are and how they
Mhm.
came to be, I guess, and how Shinpei got this magical eye that allows him to render whatever version of the future or the present that he's looking at. There's questions about all that still, but the show has laid a lot of its cards on the table, and that we now know Heine is what's the little girl's name? I can't
Oh,
remember.
Siri.
Shiori. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yep.
Um,
Hmm.
we know now that Heine is Shiori, which is a big
Yep.
deal because Shiori is the one who was responsible for killing Ushio. So we know a lot of that now.
All
So
right.
episode 12 was a big deal for that reason, kind of. But like a few of the episodes leading up to it,
Mhm.
um, there was all kinds of twists, like Ushio encountering herself on the beach, like she
Yep.
befriends her shadow before she dies, and Heine invades her memory of the day she dies. She like corrupts her data, um, or something. But like the show itself, the production of it, the animation of it has been kind of flat. There's a lot of white speed lines showing up um,
Mhm.
in the last few episodes. Episode 12 had that really cool scene where Ushio fights against that one particular shadow. That was nifty, but a lot of still shots, a lot of
Yep.
speed line effects, and this those lines aren't even drawn. There's like an effect in I don't know, After Effects or something, whatever they're using to composite the series. And it just feels like there's a lot of really convenient developments, like Ushio being able to X-ray something and find a key inside of it, and then immediately make a copy of it and stuff.
Mhm.
I don't know,
All
just little
right.
little disappointments consistently cropping up throughout a
Right.
few of the most recent
All
episodes.
right. Let me tell you my reaction to the show. I think that the show have a lot of good twists, and I still think that despite that we know a lot of things already. We know like the identity of Heine. We know about the shadows and that figure. We actually don't know about the main black figures yet. But
The guy with 4 arms, you mean?
yeah, that guy.
I think he's probably like her son or something, or her like butler. I don't know.
I think it has something to do with Shinpei parents. But yeah, like I still think that it still have a lot of of cat that is not laid out yet, and there's still more twists coming, especially when it comes to Mio, because I don't think that the show had used her, like to her full potential.
What is there about Mio that we have left to understand about her,
Yeah,
other than that she's like Ushio's sister and she likes Shinpei?
yeah. The whole thing about like she kind of like at the beginning of the story, she kind of important into this story, and we don't see much of her lately. The fact that the last thing Osho say is to protect her, but you know I think the plot just kind of get that sidelined. So I
I
think
mean, I think
like
the
the
role
next
that
act is gonna be more important.
I don't know. I don't
Yep,
agree.
go
I
on.
think the role that she serves in the story is she is the innocent who must,
Uh,
be guarded from the corruption of the shadows.
right.
He has to protect her because
Um.
that's Ushio's wish.
All right. I do think that she's some kind of like the end boss for me.
What?
I'm expecting it.
You're expecting that Mio is
She
the end
seems.
boss?
Yep. Like with a show that had a lot of twists like this one.
Are you talking about like she's going to be possessed and as like by Heine or something and she's going to be so, a boss in that sense, or do you think that Mio herself is evil?
I think Mio herself, especially when it comes to Shinpei and Ushio, like their romance. I think Mio, like have a dark thought about that. So maybe it faction to like some kind of uh she she turned against them at some point in the future. That's what I think.
That makes no sense at all.
Right. Well.
There's no way that's going to happen.
Yep. But yeah, we know. Let's talk about the other things now. So, we know quite considerable about all the shadows, and we know that there used to be like a it's not a factory. It's a institution there, right? So they might experience something before.
Factory? I don't even know what you're talking about. Are you talking about the abandoned clinic that they go to
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right.
where he finds the medicine or whatever?
Yeah, that's right. And it in show house like properties.
Hmm?
Shinpei best friend show
Yeah.
is like that that abandoned house is abandoned clinic is in his property, in his father property.
Well, not really, right? Cuz he says he tried to sneak in there as a kid. Like he was trespassing.
Yeah, but yeah, but
I'm not sure that was. I mean, I know that his dad was a doctor and his grandfather was a doctor and stuff, and that his family has been propping up the Shadow's stranglehold over this island for a long time. It's not just his dad who did it to keep his mom alive as a Shadow, because apparently that's the leverage that the Shadows have over their family, and why Tokiko is supporting them, which was the big twist in episode 10 or something. Um,
Mhm, mhm.
apparently it's like a multi-generational thing, so this has been happening for a while. But
Yep.
I don't think that clinic was his family's, but maybe it was. I mean, either way, they just show like that clinic essentially functions as a portal, at least in terms of where this like the direction that the story is heading in. That clinic is a portal for them to go underground and then find their way to this cavern and then have this encounter with the shadow people, so that he can gain a little bit of knowledge before he resets. You can kind of map out all the developments that the show undergoes as just particular pieces of information that it needs to deliver to Shinpei before he resets for the second, third, fourth, fifth time.
Mhm.
He's just got to know enough so that on his last loop, he can win.
Yeah, I,
Um,
I yeah, I actually talking about his loop. I actually feel that uh, especially the last look is too convenient that he, you know, he looked back right there at
Oh,
that moment.
that's just shorthand. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
It,
when they were writing the manga, they were like, man, I don't want to go back and have them do all this insignificant stuff all over again. That's just not wanting to draw.
sat right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just put him right back here because this is where I want to pick up the story from, and I don't want to draw stuff from before this. I
Yeah.
mean, you can infer that stuff before that happened, if you want,
Mm-hmm.
or you can say, you know, how his respawn point, I guess, is progressing. He doesn't end up in the same, like he doesn't keep waking up in her cleavage every single time, like he was at the start. The point where from which he resets is advancing little by little. So if you want, you can just say, oh yeah, he came back to life or whatever, right at that exact moment. I mean, either way, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah. Yeah.
just gotta go back in time and pick up from a particular place.
Yeah. Yeah. That's too bad that you it got lost on you a little bit.
Yeah, well, it
I mean,
really.
do
I
you
mean, I think the storyboarding took a major hit. There was a string of episodes
right?
in there, like 9 through 11, where I was just like really bored looking at the show.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't help that a lot of it was like either gray or brown. Um, I mean, that has more to do with color, but they were either underground or in that cavern or in that really dimly lit clinic. Um,
Yep.
and the show was kind
Yep.
of boring to look at during those moments. But even if you set aside the fact that they were in like poorly lit environments, um, just a lot of, I don't know, a lot of boring looking stuff on screen. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Characters like making a discovery, uh, and them being like reacting to it in a major way, and then the show chooses to convey that by putting those damn speed lines on the screen. You know,
It make it much more dramatic, I guess.
no, it doesn't. It does precisely the opposite. I think it makes
Right.
it more dramatic for like, I don't know, kids who watch YouTube videos where people edit themselves with those weird speed lines around their faces,
Right.
to communicate that they're shocked or surprised. Perhaps
Um.
they appreciate
All
the
right.
show's direction a little bit more than I do.
Do you reckon this is like the last loop? Does it better?
Um, I don't think so because he hasn't shot himself in the head yet, has he?
He hasn't yet,
Yeah, and in
but
the
he did
OP he
kill
shoots himself
himself.
in the head.
Right.
I mean that could just be metaphorical,
Mhm.
but I think there's going to be one more loop, probably, and he's gonna just kill himself with a gun in order to make it
Yeah.
happen,
Yeah.
fulfilling the promise of the opening theme. Gotta have a guy killing himself with a gun, man.
Yeah. All right. How do you find the concept of like they having like two Ushio at the same time, and uh, the fact that the shadow Ushio, like function like the real Ushio.
I don't know. That's just part of the story, in my opinion. I don't really
Yeah.
think that it's a good decision or a bad decision. It's just like integral to the story that Ushio is a shadow, um, and I don't know. I don't
Yeah, I
really
do think that.
understand why she can exist as both a human being and a shadow, and why her shadow is like benevolent. The show hasn't really explained that, has it?
No, they haven't. They
Yeah.
just said like the shadow Ushio is like the unusual one.
Right. I don't know. I mean, there's obviously potential for shadows to be like, I don't know, not murderous, docile, or friendly to humanity at the very least. Because if Tokiko and So's mother has been brought back to life, or rather, there's a shadow version of her, um, that is standing in for her human self, then obviously the quote unquote technology exists for shadows to be created and be like, I don't know, live among humans. So whatever Ushio is, she's some expression of that technology, or that, that state of being. But she's also gained consciousness, like, or she has human emotions or empathy or something like that.
Yep.
So it just makes sense that she can exist, I suppose, but I don't think that it's a
Yep.
good or bad decision, really. It's just another twist,
Right.
and I mean that's what the show is, kind of. If you look at it through a particular lens, it's just a procession of twists. And I wish that I could rattle them off like in order right now, but I can't.
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
There's one per episode. There's like too many to all get in a straight line.
Yep, that's all fine. I actually was thinking about like something about Shinpei, but I lost my train of thought as well. So
What about him?
yeah, I think
He's got that
something
weird
about his
eye.
ability. That's right.
And it
Yeah,
belongs.
maybe something about his ability.
Who does the eye belong to? Doesn't the? I mean, episode 5 I think is probably the most significant one out of the series so far, which I believe is the one where he experiences what the shadows are going to do on the final day of the festival, where the shadow like covers the whole island, and there's like a ritualistic sacrifice to Haine where they pile up all the bodies.
Yeah.
And in that episode, I think there's some reference to the fact that his eye is like it belongs to their mother, and Haine, I think, is the mother of the shadows. So it's her eye, really.
Yeah, but she tried to take back the eyes
And it doesn't
in
work.
episode 12, but it doesn't work.
Right.
So maybe it's not really hers.
Well, I don't know. It probably has something to do with the fact that his eye is what allows him to see, like to render the present, as the shadow, the forearm shadow makes reference to. He's the fact that he can. I don't know if he's really being reborn or what exactly is happening, but whatever he experiences or looks at, he renders as real. It's Sonny Boy. It reminded me of Sonny Boy because Nagata is like the observer. Whatever he observes is made reality. Shinpei has the same thing going on. It's like quantum mechanics. Nothing truly exists unless someone is there to witness it, and in fact, their witnessing of it, their observation of it, is what is what makes it real. Is what makes it like substantive. So the show's playing with a little bit of that, and if that's the case, then you can't take his eye from him, because if you take away his eye, his ability to observe, then reality would break down.
Yeah, that's a really interesting take.
I think that's why she can't take his eye, because if he can't observe the present, then there can't be any future, and then everything that's happening like on screen would cease to exist. So the question is, the mission that the shadows have, I suppose, is how they're going to be able to take his eye and give it back to Haine and like bring her back to life, I suppose, while still maintaining their grasp on reality. And I assume that we're going to learn more about the shadows in general and how they might accomplish that goal, because there's more to learn about them through the character of what is her name? Hizuru?
Yep.
AKA Ryonosuke. She's got like a split personality, based on whether his or her hair is up or down, which I thought was very weird.
Yep.
But that's
I
another
agree
one of the big
as well.
twists. Ryonosuke is the brother who died, I think, and Hizuru has like taken on Ryonosuke's personality as a method of, I don't know, coping with that loss. But at the same time, Ryonosuke is also like a completely separate consciousness, and has a different like skill set and personality and set of memories and stuff.
He even have like the special abilities that I think he can predict like 2 seconds before that happen.
Oh yeah, I wasn't exactly sure about like how that's supposed to function.
Yeah, well, I
There's this,
think he just have like a flash of like what gonna happen to him, and then he try to avoid that.
right,
Like we see the picture of him, like getting hit by the a bullet. So that's why he can avoid that beforehand.
right, yeah, yeah. I guess there still are a lot of questions to be answered.
Yeah, true.
I mean, I feel more optimistic about the series in general after episode 12 because it did,
Mhm.
it livened things up a little bit in terms of its animation. It clarified a few things before sending Shinpei back in time, and I really did feel that the show was in need of a reset, like through his character uh, dying and coming back.
Yep.
Maybe that will somehow invigorate it. Uh, I don't know if it will necessarily do it visually, but we're gonna change up at the very least, which is good.
Yep.
I just a lot of stuff in episode the one example that comes to mind is the fact that what's her face Ushio sees through the statue in the clinic and sees the key and then makes it out of a lock of her hair,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
use it to like progress through, like get
Yeah.
underground and then go
That
into the cavern and all that. I mean that's a serious leap.
convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I
I
agree.
remember feeling like there were multiple instances of that happening, as like in recent episodes. I remember thinking multiple times, "Oh, well, that's nice little loophole you've made for yourself there."
And I also like remember uh when Heine in the form of the young girls like grab Shinpei hands and they leave a mark on his hand. I
Right.
wonder like when he lift back not gonna be affected at all. So I would say maybe like part of the concerns of Heine will still like be with Shinpei, and they might aware of like the looping.
Oh, I see what
And
you're saying. Hmm,
yeah,
that's interesting. I mean, that's definitely possible because Heine invades Ushio's
the
memory.
memories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the memory that's being communicated via a phone video. Heine has
Mhm.
even invaded like digitally the recording of those memories. It seems to me there's a digital component to all of this because there's the pixelation effect that gets slapped on top of stuff, sometimes for censorship purposes, but also sometimes because all of this like dying and resetting and spawning back at checkpoints and even the shadows themselves, there may be, that we may be just in a simulation or something.
Yeah, maybe.
So yeah,
Alrighty.
all that to say that it's definitely possible that she's corrupted his data or something along those lines. His whatever, however, his consciousness is expressed as he travels
Mhm.
between like possibilities. Um, yeah, it's possible that she'll be able to sense, even in this new timeline that he's creating or observing, she'll be able to sense his location or share a consciousness with him or something along those lines. Yeah, that's a good thought. I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case.
Alright. So there are more twists to come. I'm actually excited to like to know more about it.
I mean, I'm gonna keep watching at least. Uh, I mean, it's gonna be one of those series I think that we talk about, that we consider out of the summer lineup, because this is two core back to back.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah, yeah.
25
That's
episodes
right.
straight through. So I'll watch at least until we get to the episode that we have to stack up against the other summer shows. Maybe I'll watch
Yep.
to the end.
All right. I suppose we get to the last show then, the last OVA. The girl
Right.
from the other side.
I don't even... Did this even come out during the spring season?
It just come out. I say about a month ago. I think.
Oh, is that right?
Let's say the release date. Shit, not this one.
I mean, we don't necessarily have to look it up. I was just kind of... It kind of felt to me like we were just using this episode as an excuse to talk about this, rather than it having
Yeah.
come out within the last 3 months. But maybe it did.
It's a match, so maybe you're right. It's not it's not even airing in this season.
Yeah, but this is our recording, so we do
Yeah.
what we want.
We make our rules.
Right.
Yep, the girl from the other side. I think that the whole thing looked excellent. I think it's like one of the best things that I've seen. You might agree. You might disagree with me though.
One of the best things you've seen. What does that mean?
Yeah. I mean like the production value, like everything is basically a every frame of painting for this one.
No, what I meant was one of the best things you've seen. What does that mean? Like out of what? One of the best anime you've seen. One of the best films you've seen. One of the best things that we're talking about on this episode of the podcast that you've seen. What does that mean?
All right, I would say anime films, not cheaply.
Yeah, you gotta have that caveat in there. Yeah, I mean the style of it is, it's drawing inspiration from storybooks and like European kind of folk animation.
Yep.
It looks nice.
Yeah, it looked really nice.
It's got squiggle vision.
I
where the
also
characters are
think that
constantly moving,
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I really love that.
I don't know,
And,
that can be achieved digitally, I think. I don't know if every permutation of the characters, like let's say a character is standing still. I don't know if all of the movement that you're seeing is like 4 or 5 uniquely drawn frames, or if all of that, certainly the color is digital, but I don't know if even the movement of it is achieved via some algorithm or program, or like a plug-in in animation software. I don't know. The effect is pretty cool, I think, because it contrasts the characters with their environment. Like it gives the characters life, whereas the world that they're living in is almost lifeless. We don't see a lot of other people besides Sensei and Shiva, and I think it can be inferred that humanity is holed up somewhere, like the insiders, wherever they live, they're kind of secluded from the rest of the world. So it makes them appear more alive in contrast to their surroundings.
Yeah, that's right. And I just love the contrast as well on the design between Shiva and Sensei. Like, one of them is dark and the other one is the pure white.
Right. It's true. One of them is tall, the other one is short. One is male, the other is female. One's human, the other's not.
Yeah, that's right.
They are complete opposites.
All these. And I'm in tune with the story. I think the story could benefit from like maybe like one little act, but like as a whole, I think they did good of telling like a really small portion of this story, or maybe they condense it into one story. I don't know.
Yeah, it does feel kind of condensed, or like some key information has been omitted, or something along those lines. I mean, I think they whoever wrote it, directed it, they got across the elements of the original work that they wanted to. We don't know that much about the conflict between outsiders and insiders.
That's right.
And knowing more about that could help give some context to some particular scenes. We also don't know that much about like who Mother is, or the exact nature of the outsider's curse, its origin, how it came to be, and where this world is, I guess, in relationship to the world that Shiva came from, if she's indeed from the other side. There are questions, surrounding things like that, like the nature of the curse, the location of this world, and the nature of its conflict between these two groups, which are referred to multiple times in dialogue, but they aren't really necessary strictly in order to, convey the relationship between Sensei and Shiva. She's lost, he finds her, and a bond forms between them. I think that's the most important part, and the film gets that across.
Do you feel the narration is a bit distracting? How do you
Narration.
think that you justify?
I don't even remember narration. I mean, I watched this last night pretty late. I was kind of sleepy.
Yeah. Sensei has a lot of like his own narration.
He does?
He does.
Well, I mean,
Yes.
I guess if I don't really remember it, then it wasn't that distracting to me.
Cool.
What kind of things does he think to himself?
All right, like you remember like the part that he holding Shiva come to the mother. I think like the whole thing like from his point of view and from when he thoughts out aloud as well.
Huh. I mean, that makes sense to me. I mean, that scene needed some narration. What the hell was going on there?
Yeah.
It's all like, purposefully obscured and artsy and stuff. Because
Even like
Yeah.
like the scene that he tried to kill the human.
he tries to kill the
Like,
human. No, he
afterward,
doesn't try to.
I think.
He doesn't try to kill the human. The human tries to kill him. You're talking about like the archer guy, right?
Yeah. Oh, I thought that he tried to take his soul to Shiva to fix Shiva, right?
He does.
All right. So he followed the archer around, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
at
that's
one
that. Yeah, that's right. But he doesn't end up doing that. He
that's right. But like
he
yeah,
does follow him for that
afterward,
purpose. That's like a moment of weakness that he experiences. And he's following him through the woods. We have a first-person perspective, and he's thinking to himself that he could fix Shiva if only he could get this guy's soul. Yeah,
yeah, that's the narration. He think to himself.
right. I didn't mind that. No, I did think that was one of the weakest scenes, perhaps the weakest scene in the whole film, was the fight between him and the archer. But I think one of the reasons that it feels a little strange is because we just lack context for the conflict between the outsiders and the insiders. Like, we don't know anything about this guy.
Yep.
He just kind of shows up at this house where
I
Sensei
agree,
and
yep.
Shiva have taken refuge, and then he's essentially just a device. Just a way for Sensei to experience that temptation of maybe if I can just take this guy's soul, I can use it for my own purposes. That's why he exists in the story. So there's
I
not a
think
lot
this is
of there's not anything over top of that can distract us from the fact that this is just the author's purpose.
Yep. Yep. I think this is the only like film feature feature length OVA that I would love to see more. Like if they have like another 20 minute 30 minute out of it, I to flesh out the world even more, I wouldn't mind.
Well, what would they do with those
But
20 or 30 minutes? Like, provide more details about outsiders and
the
insiders?
conflict between the yeah
I don't know. I feel like that might take away from the film's power a little bit. If you make it
right.
too literal, or if you do too much explaining of I don't know,
Yeah.
just what's going on with multiple characters. Because if you start to talk about the conflict between outsiders and insiders, you have to bring in more characters. Like, there has to be a larger cast, if not with speaking roles, then at least visually. Like, you have to see a bunch of insiders, and you have to understand where their hideout is, or how they're managing to survive. And
That's
stuff like
true.
that. I
But
don't know. Then it feels a little bit less focused on Sensei and Shiva, maybe a little
yeah.
less personal and there's less of a
Mm.
mystical quality to it.
Or maybe just like some of the Shiva flashback at like her outside worlds before like they taken away. Maybe just something like that because I haven't read the source material though, so I don't know like what would part they omit.
Well, I don't. Yeah, yeah, me neither. We do get a Shiva dream sequence where she's. It begins with like all the raindrops falling around her bed, and like when
Mm-hmm.
she wakes up,
Yep.
within her dream, and she steps out of bed. There's a pool of water. Um, And the long and short of that dream sequence is that she's like surrounded by dark figures.
Uh-huh.
And then there's uh one of the outsiders who like puts their arms around her, and she turns around and embraces them, and then she wakes up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing that what that dream sequence was the the method by which she was brought into this world. If she is true, I don't think there's I don't think this film ever actually says, "Oh, she's from another world." That's just the title, and we can infer that.
Yep.
But he just finds her in the woods. It's not like
Yep.
he thinks to himself, "Oh, this
Even
girl is clearly from a parallel universe" or something like that. I think the dream sequence where she's surrounded by the hooded figures and she embraces a shadow or an outsider um, is just a recollection, like her vague recollection of being stolen away, like spirited away from her world and brought into this one.
yeah.
So I think that's good
I don't know.
enough. I don't know.
Right. I don't know if it's just me though. The scenes where she told Sensei that like she had been cursed. I don't see any effect to the body at all. Is that just me that I'm missing something there?
No, we don't see any effect on her
Right.
body, but like Sensei is intimately familiar with the curse and how it progresses and its effects on humanity, because he himself
Mm-hmm.
was human, and he's been able to effectively fight against the curse, at least more than most other
Yep.
outsiders, I assume.
Yep.
So maybe perhaps he can recognize the signs, even if we don't see any alteration to her character design. And you would figure that we would see something,
Yep.
but we really don't.
All right.
She's still represented the same way. Her character does, like her hair is white, her dress is white. Nothing about her really
She turned
changes.
white.
Yeah,
Yep.
I guess so. She has like that little light and sprightly voice. Um, but Sensei sees that something is different. I don't know how. We just kind of take it as fact.
Right. Right. Yep. I don't really mind, but yeah.
Yeah, there are multiple things in this film that you really have to just accept. Like for example, the whole last 15 minutes, where Sensei takes
I
her
agree.
underneath a lake, and somehow she doesn't drown, and neither does he. You
Yeah,
know,
I think it I think at that point though it just more like, yeah, take it at its come, and it's just more like the mysterious work, and like it defy the law of logic and physics, something like that.
yeah,
I think it's a bit like Mushishi in that sense.
kind of. But Mushishi like couches all of its mysticism and uh, like in within science. Because Ginkgo
Yep.
is a scientist, sort of. He's a doctor.
Yep.
Um, and he's just able to perceive things that other people can't. Whereas
Yep.
in this film, you've got Sensei like opening up a hole in his chest so that Shiva can
Yeah.
see like a lake inside, and she can stick her
Drink
hands
it.
into his being and like the water inside, I assume, is meant to represent his soul or something. You know, it's really abstract, and everything is kind of representative
Yep.
in
Yep.
scenes like those.
But
So the fact
the
that the film goes to those places eventually makes me kind of forgive the fact that it's not so detailed in other places, or at least it doesn't over-explain
all right,
itself. Like I understand that it's that kind of work. It's not.
I agree.
It's not about you know, building out a
The world.
world that it can feed you excruciating detail about.
I agree, and I think the film, one of the film's strongest moment is the one that they don't really say anything. They just like let the scene happen right before our eyes, so that we know what happened. It's like one of the cursed people turn into the trees,
Yeah,
and
the
we
military
see
guy
like
from the start of the film, right? We kind of
right,
track
yep,
his
yep,
descent into outsiderness throughout the movie.
yep,
Yeah, and then we
and
eventually see his
we
transformation, which is cool.
yeah, that's right, and we see like a tons of other trees that like that have the same that that are the same as well. So we
Yeah,
know that that's what happened to the people, to the villagers.
right. Well, the clue is the fact that all of them have like clothes
Yep.
waving around in the breeze in their branches, that which are remnants of their transformation. And when it hits you, like when Shiva first leaves the house and goes out to explore and sees like a pair of pants or something that
Mm-hmm.
are kind of stuck on a branch of a tree, she's like, "What the hell?" But then when you understand the reason for that and it hits you, you're like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, that's right. I originally thought that that's gonna be like one of the maybe the like the shadow, one of these creator from that world come to attack her, but
that the
it's
tree
not the
would
case.
that the tree would attack her.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Right. I mean, that could have been, I guess, but yeah, the tree is like the final form, I suppose, of the outsiders. It's after they've quote unquote died, um, so they're not moving no more. But they could have been, yeah. I mean, moving
Or
trees are like a staple of fantasy fiction. Talking trees.
yeah. So how do you take on this adaptation of the girl from the other side? I
Well,
think this is just fantastic
I
for
can't
me.
I can't evaluate it as an adaptation. I haven't read the manga or whatever it is.
Yeah, or
No
by
idea.
itself.
I mean, like I said, I watched it last night and I was sleepy, so
Right,
I certainly admired it. I didn't like it very much. I didn't dislike it.
right.
Um, I was just kind of admiring it and being like, "Ooh, that's nice. That looks real nice." Um, for most of it, and then when it got to the last 10, 15 minutes where they they come to the hole in the ground under the lake bed where
Uh-huh.
Mother is, and we get the show starts to get real symbolism heavy. I was
Yep.
like, whoa, this is I was like having to, like, I don't know, focus real hard, I guess. Fight off sleep and
I
try to comprehend what the show was delivering at the same time.
I I think this is the same feeling I have with the with Children of the Sea.
Right.
They have like
Yeah.
they had like fantastic production. They look really good, and then the last 15-20 minutes it just take you like into basically the other world that you are not really it tried to be really big that you not really comprehend what happened.
Well, I think I have I mean, Children of the Sea, what you're seeing at the end, I think, is like the creation of the universe. Um,
Right. Yep.
and in this film, I think what you're seeing is Sensei attempting to sacrifice his, like, to access his own human soul still within himself and sacrifice it so that Shiva can use it as a portal back to her world. I think that's what's happening.
Yeah.
But she ends up not like the scene where he kind of like opens up the hole in his chest is kind of reminiscent of the sort of hole that might be in a tree trunk.
Right.
And since
Right. Yep.
trees are the final form of an outsider who has completely lost their humanity, I think it stands to reason that that's what Sensei is trying to do. He's trying to like accelerate the process of his own death and allow Shiva
Mm.
to like get some use out of his soul. His soul being presented as like the water within himself that she scoops into her hands. But if I remember correctly, she doesn't do anything with it, right? She doesn't drink it or anything like that.
She was about to drink it, and then
Yeah, and then she doesn't.
she stopped. Yep.
Right. So she was kind of following along with his design, which was that she would drink it and be able to like use it in order to I don't know, go back to the place from which she came. But she doesn't.
Yep.
And as a result, he doesn't, you know, his transformation into a tree is not accelerated. He doesn't lose his life.
They
In fact,
happily
he's
ever after.
yeah, they live happily ever after. Yeah. So I mean, I think I have a pretty good grasp on what was happening like physically
Yep.
in that scene, or not physically, like metaphorically, what we were
Yep.
meant to take from it, I suppose. Still, it is pretty abstract.
Mm.
But it wasn't as like Children of the Sea's abstraction was so prolonged and so like cosmic and overwhelming
Yep.
that I started to get bored
Mm.
in the middle of it.
Yep.
And I was, every frame is just unbelievably beautiful, but I was like, all right, this whole scene of the universe coming to existence can end now, please. Didn't have that problem with the girl from the other side.
Yep.
I
I
think it was
agree.
more like thematically driven, and it was more kind of rooted in Sensei's relationship to Shiva. Like everything that we were seeing was his self-sacrifice so that she could benefit and she could return to the place from which she came. That gives it more resonance.
Yep. I just wish that like I know more about the context. I would like I would expect more of what he's about to do, in order, to like anticipate and like have more like invest to to the scene emotionally. And
Uh,
it's
yeah,
just
maybe
like very
some more
interesting to
narration.
watch.
And now what I will do is I will call upon the power of Mother in order to sacrifice my
Yeah.
soul, blah blah blah. Is that you
Yeah.
wanted some more narration there?
No thanks.
Yeah, I wasn't. I you seem to have an issue with the narration. I don't. I didn't even remember it when you brought it up.
Yeah.
So I guess it just came across as completely natural to me. I mean, I suppose that it would, right? He's been alone for so long. He only had himself for company. He probably like narrates his own life almost. That's his stream of consciousness because it's just him.
Yeah.
So he kind of
Yeah.
thinks. He literally thinks to himself.
Yeah. All right. So yep, I'm still happy with that. I would have loved to emotionally invest more on the final like 10 minute, but it actually a pretty focused piece of work.
Yeah,
Like
I think so.
it yeah, and it looked great at all times, at least for me.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, the backgrounds are really really nice. The character animation is pretty good. The squiggle vision, and I keep calling it that because that's a name for like a particular animation style, like and even a specific technology or like a piece of software,
Hmm.
something like that. Um,
What you
that
call it
cre-
again?
that creates this effect. What's that?
Yeah, what you call the effect again?
Squiggle vision.
Strigo, was it?
Yeah,
Right.
what some like a squiggle is like a really curvy line.
Right.
So
Yep.
squiggle vision is what it's called. I don't know if how appropriate it is to call this like the girl from the other side to say that it uses squiggle vision. I don't know if that's like technically correct,
Yep.
but it in general I think the effect was nice. There were some scenes, particularly like when characters were shot from a distance, where I don't think it went over like perfectly. But yeah, I mean, it's generally a very very nice looking piece of work. I like the environments. The fact that so like dead trees, like leafless trees, are a big motif.
Yep.
It makes the moments when the characters are walking through forests where there actually is like a lot of foliage, like that much more striking. So it's and then the houses that they explore. There's his house where he brings her at first, and then there's they play hide and seek there, and then they eventually set out on their journey. There's the second house. There's a good sense of like emptiness, to each of them. The houses feel big. Sometimes it's difficult to make a contained environment feel big in animation, and I think they accomplished that here. So yeah, it's pretty nicely made. I just didn't really like. I don't know. I didn't really love it. I didn't even like it all that much. I just think it's good.
Yep. Alrighty. So that's the end of our postcard, and next time it's gonna be the next season, the summer season.
Yeah. Another episode of Summertime Rendering and 9 others.
New shows.
Oh yeah, not 10 episodes of Summertime Rendering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just look how excited Cooper is. Looking
Yeah,
forward
I don't know
to
how
the shows.
you look forward to each new season
Well,
when so much of
something
it
new
just
to
looks
see.
like looks bad from the get-go. I mean, we got new Made in Abyss. That's cool, at least.
Yep. Yeah. We're gonna cover that as well.
Right. So that'll be
So
in like a couple weeks, a little bit less actually. It'll be like 10 days or something.
yep. So we will see you guys back in 10 days
We'll see you then.
for the new season.
Bye-bye.
Bye.